Hello. Today's is the third lecture when where we are going to talk about the next generation sequencing methods. So, in next generation sequencing methods, we have talked about basic methods, what are why it is called next generation, and the methods underneath that. Right. So, to take an overview, like when we say next generation, the generations are classified like first generation, second generation, third generation, fourth generation sequencing. So very first generation, as we have discussed in detail, Sanger sequencing method, right? In the second generation methods, we have studied pyro sequencing method in details. In the third generation, you have various methods wherein the speed, the efficiency, the throughput, you can say, of the method is better improved, right? So under that, we have a single molecule fluorescent sequencing, a real-time sequencing, semiconductor-based sequencing, and the nanopore sequencing, which we have studied in details, right? So why it is really required to have such NGS? As I said, these are high throughput methods. So the high demand for low cost sequencing and better output, you have to go for improvising the methods, the processes, and the efficiency of the process so that thousands or millions of sequences at once can be produced when you refer to high throughput sequencing methods. So at the same time, when you are having higher efficiency, high throughput, at the same time, the cost should be reasonable. Low cost methods are to be available. Otherwise, in terms of number of copies or number of sequences, a number of samples that are sequenced, if high throughput method is only up to the number and the efficiency and the cost increases, then it won't stand on the market, right? So when you talk about recent technologies that allow us to sequence DNA or RNA, they are much smart methods, I would say, because they are the working time is very less. They are very quick and fast methods, cost efficient methods. The size of the DNA sequence that they can read out, sequence out, are much better than what Sanger sequencing can do, and that's why they are referred to as high throughput methods, and they are classified to different generations as first generation, second generation, third generation, etc. Right. So when I talk about the next generation sequencing, the general workflow is going to be as you are seeing in this particular slide. So then you have to collect the sample. Maybe when we are talking about systematics of bacteriology, the sample from a particular soil or aquatic system you have collected, or from you have some pure colonies and you are extracting from it, whatever it may be. So you have to go for DNA extraction. Then you have to go to construct the DNA library. You know how the libraries are constructed, right? So construction of library is one of the important steps. Then you have to go for sequencing, and then you have to go for analyzing the data and comparing it with the already existing data in the sequence libraries. So by comparing, you can get to know whether the sequence is having any similarity with the existing sequences or it differs from it. So this is just to give you an overview ki what important steps are to be conducted when you are talking about sequencing with reference to high throughput methods. All right. So one such method is Illumina method. All right. So Illumina sequencing technology, when you say, again you have to go for library preparation, sequencing, and data analysis. So when you are talking about Illumina sequencing, uh, what is the working method? So same like Sanger's method, it is also a sequencing by synthesis, SBS method, right? So you are going to go on adding single base, and you have in Sanger's method dideoxynucleotide incorporation, random incorporation of DDNTPs. Whenever DDNTP is incorporated, the chain terminates and you get a fragment. That fragment you are going to analyze, right? So in place of DDNTPs, here you have DNTPs which are labeled with some tag, the fluorescent tag, right? So and you can say the sequencing by synthesis method, which is adopted as next generation sequencing is Illumina method. All right, and a very important point about this is it is going to be massively parallel methodology, you can say. So massive and parallel, these two are very important words. We are going to talk about MPSS system also in details, right? So when it comes to Illumina methodology, you might have understood by now that it is about sequencing DNA sequence fragments, wherein you are going to use sequencing by synthesis, right? So Illumina sequencing, when you say, generally a total sequence of about 6,000 gigabase pairs, right, can be obtained. But in sequence, the reads are about the reads are about 50 to 300 base pair in length, single or pair end, depending upon the instrument and the model that is used for Illumina. We are going to talk about different models also, which are working on Illumina sequencing methodology. So, when you talk about sequencing methods here, you are going to have the system which is going to sequence bases by synthesis method, right? So you are going to have mm, uh, an array based DNA sequencing method, you can say. So this is array based DNA sequencing, and DNA sequencing is how it is sequencing by synthesis technology. Of course, reversible terminator is the mechanism like Sanger's method. So in this approach, what we do, template DNA fragments are taken. So DNA fragments, that is first thing. Template, that is another word which is important. So template DNA fragments are taken. They are hybridized to a reaction chamber. The reaction chambers are generally solid surfaces. They are referred to as flow cells, another term, right? Flow cell. A series of 4 modified nucleotides, DNTPs, ATGC जो है आपका, that you have, they are modified in the sense that they have a different removable fluorescent dye. Different. So for each base, different fluorescent dye. So different removable fluorescent dye. And this dye is tagged to, I mean, the DNA is tagged with the dye, and the dye is added on the 3' hydroxyl terminus. And synthesis is going to occur step by step. So you are going to have millions of clonal clusters which are going to get generated in each of the lanes, right? So in each of the lane of the flow cell. So it is going to contain, when you say about a flow cell, it is going to be a solid thin surface on which you have lines marked, and about say 8 independent lanes are there. So you can have multiple libraries to be sequenced in parallel. So these are the words which you will come across in the discussion. That is template fragment. Then you are going to have fluorescent label. Then you are going to have a flow cell. Flow cell is going to have independent lanes, and independent lanes, each lane for a one library which is going to be sequenced, and multiple lanes are going to be sequenced parallelly. So genome analyzers are there. When you talk about Illumina based methods, the first Illumina sequencing platform, it was it could read about 35 base pairs only and generate more than 1 gigabase of high quality sequence per run, and the time required was about 2 to 3 days, right? And with advancement in the Illumina technology, the advancements have come, and now you have high sequence HiSec 2000 model which is available, and which is giving much higher sequence outputs and increased read length. Ultra high throughput systems you can call, and these are economically also very efficient, right? So let's continue with these slides. Now when I say this Illumina system, here you have to understand basic few things, ki what Illumina, what kind of advantages it has. So rapid sequencing and long sequences you can read. So rapidly you can sequence the whole genomes, which is a limitation in case of Sanger's method or even in pyro sequencing, right? You have in Sanger's method hardly 1,000 base pairs at a time you can sequence fragments, so smaller fragments are required. Here you can rapidly sequence the whole genomes deeply sequence target regions, right? Then utilize RNA sequencing. So modified version of it is RNA-seq. So you can find out the RNA variants, then the splicing sites, and quantify mRNA for gene expression analysis. So how many copies of that mRNA are produced from a particular expression of from a expression of a particular gene. So degree of expression of particular mRNA can be quantified. Of course, it can be used to find out variations like DNA methylation, or you can say epigenetic factors. We have discussed in previous discussions with reference to nanopore method. I hope you remember that. So variations which are due to epigenetic factors, or maybe for example like DNA methylation is one of the examples, right? And also DNA protein interactions can be studied. It can be utilized to in the diagnostics, for example to sequence cancer samples, so where you can find out rare somatic variants, or in the sequence of the genes which are responsible for cancer development, right? Human microbiome, identify novel pathogens, so on and so forth are the diverse applications of this technology. Of course, any sequencing can do that, but the limitations are the length that can be sequenced in one flow, the rate or speed or rapidity of the method, and the cost. So when it comes to Illumina, all these things are taken care of, and you have a high throughput method. So when I talk about the Illumina genome analysis, what I have to remember? So I'm going to have flow cells, as I said. So flow cells are going to be used, and the on the flow cells, which are very thin, optically transparent slides, you can say, right? And they have multiple individual lanes. So multiple lanes, like on highways you have 4 lane system, 6 lane system, right? That here the highway high throughput method way for DNA sequencing is nothing but a optically transparent. Like optically transparent, when I say, what comes to your mind? Maybe very fine quality glass or very fine quality plastic, etc., right? So optically transparent slides are there, and on that there are multiple channels, you can say, or lanes are there, right? You start imagining what I'm talking, and in the next slide we can see the uh, schematic diagram for the entire methodology, how it works. You will be able to compare, uh, provided you are jotting down the points and are trying to make a picture along. So please jot down the points and try to connect them, right? So you have a flow cell. Flow cell are nothing but a transparent slide, and on the slides you have lanes marked. So you have drawn by now a slide shape, a shape of a slide, and lanes on it, right? Now, second is small oligonucleotide anchors are immobilized. So you have to have some hooks which will hold that DNA fragment onto the slide, right? So you are going to immobilize the small oligonucleotides which are going to act as anchors. So like you have primers which are going to initiate the process of extension of DNA in DNA synthesis method, right? So similarly, you have certain adapter sequences, right? You have studied it earlier. So small oligonucleotide sequences which are going to be immobilized on the surface of these lanes, and they are going to act as anchors. Now you are going to have the template DNA. That template DNA you are going to shear, and you are going to fragment it, right? Shearing, simple shearing, you can get the DNA fragmented. You know that. So template DNA is going to be fragmented. To that, you are going to add phosphate, so phosphorylated at 5' end, and adenylated, that is addition of uh, adenine nucleotide on the at the 3' end. So you have fragmented the DNA. To its 5' you have added phosphate, and to its 3' you have added adenine. Now, oligonucleotide adapters, right? These are small stretches of sequences which will be added to the DNA fragment, and these adapters then will hook onto the anchors, right? So it will facilitate the ligation, right? So you are going to have T overhangs or A overhangs which are going to act as adapters, which are going to be there on adapters, right? So you can imagine a glass like small slide lanes in that, anchors are there which are going to act as hooks. To that you are going to add the DNA, but DNA is not the entire DNA at time. You have fragmented it to the fragments. At 5 prime you have added phosphate, at 3 prime you have added adenine, and adenine nucleotide, adenylated fragment now you have, and phosphorylated fragment you have. So phosphorylated and adenylated fragment now you have. To that you are going to add adapters, and the adapters are going to have T overhangs. All right. Now the adapters, ligated oligonucleotides ready now with you, right? So you can draw the straight chain of DNA. At one end 5 prime, another at 3 prime. At 5 prime there is phosphate, at 3 prime you have adenine, and then you have T overhangs. Now this is ready. Now you are going to add it to the flow cell anchor, right? So in the flow cell, in the lanes, it will be added. These DNA templates will get attached to the anchor, and you will get the formation of clusters of the same DNA fragment. And then to get the clusters, that is multiple copies. So multiple copies you need to go for PCR amplification, right? But here now a DNA fragment beads are hybridized with its distal end to an adjacent anchor complementary to the distal end. This is done. Then you have to go for amplification. So amplification is like your PCR method, right? So denaturation, annealing, extension, these steps are there. So denaturation of both the strands, they are separated, they are bent, right, and hybridized with their distal ends to adjacent anchors. So can you imagine the DNA is anchored, it is treated such a way that it is denaturing, it will bend, and it will get hooked onto another anchor which is there on the flow cell, right? So you have a bended DNA fragment, right? Try to draw this, you will see it in the next slide also. Now you have to give the amplification, so multiple amplification cycles are run, so you get clusters of thousands of clones, you can say, or clusters of thousands of copies of that DNA fragment generated, but they will remain there only at particular location. So after amplification cycle, a single DNA template makes multiple copies, that is what we call as clone. So clonally amplified clusters, and you are going to have thousands of those present there. So millions of clusters of these different template molecules can be generated using one single flow cell. So when you are going by Sanger's method, you have to do PCR amplification, and per run how many copies you will get. So exponential count you go with. But here thousand millions copies you can produce in a small lane at one anchor, and there are multiple lanes, multiple anchors, multiple copies, so multiple samples at a time can be you can say amplified and cloned and sequenced, right? Now what you are going to do for sequencing, the sequencing technology, as we said in the beginning, it is sequencing by synthesis method. So you are going to have everything that is required for synthesis, but additional to that you are going to have different fluorescent labels, and these fluorescent labels are going to get attached to different nucleotides. So you are going to have four fluorescently labeled nucleotides. I would say four different fluorescently labeled nucleotides. When I say four different fluorescent, matlab each is going to have its unique fluorescence color. All right, then and then only you will be able to distinguish them. So you are going to have labeled nucleotides now, fluorescently labeled nucleotides, and they are going to be used for uh, uh, sequencing the DNA fragment under study, right? But here millions of clusters are there on the folds on the flow cell surface, and they are in parallel, right? So massive amplification, massive sequencing, and high throughput, that is the outcome. So whenever you are talking about synthesis by sequencing, that means you are providing everything that is required for extension of a polynucleotide by synthesis process, and the fluorescently labeled nucleotides. So in each growing chain, a single DNTP which is labeled with the fluorescent tag will get randomly added, right? And due to incorporation of a labeled nucleotide, the extension of the chain will stop. So it will terminate, polymerization of the DNA will terminate, and at that point the fluorescence that is getting emitted from that fragment will be recorded, it will be imaged, right? and using that you can identify which base has got incorporated. Once it has happened, you are going to remove the label. That can be removed by enzymatic cleavage, and that label is removed, and you are going to allow incorporation of the next nucleotide in the growing chain. So this is how in short is the flow chart. Now I had asked you to jot down the points when I was talking. Probably some points you could jot. Now let's connect those with the help of this slide. All right. Now what do you have here? This is what is your schematic representation for a flow cell, right? A transparent slide, right? On the transparent slide, there are lanes marked, which are not really very clearly seen here, but yes, lanes are there. You have added the fragmented DNA, and the fragmented DNA is how at one end it has at its 5 prime you have added phosphorus, so phosphorylated. At 3 prime you have added adenine nucleotide, so it is adenylated, and further it is extended with a adapter, right? The adapter is having T overhangs, so that is added. So this is the flow cell. It has got lanes. These colored dots, do you see? They are going to act as anchors, right? Small oligonucleotides, they are already there attached, like purple, light blue, different colors you are seeing. So they are attached. So to this, the DNA fragment which is adenylated and with the adapter added will get anchored on it, right? Now when you are going to denature it, right, and it is going to bend and get hooked onto the nearby anchor again. So this is how it would look like, right? Now by now if you see the bend to primer, that is what you have seen till now, right? What is then it is PCR extension. PCR extension steps are well known to you. So denaturation, addition of primer to already done, so extension you are going to have by keeping the temperature adequate, so synthesis would occur. And when it is getting synthesized, that time along with the normal nucleotides which are getting incorporated, a label nucleotide will get incorporated. Now here you can see one is red, one is blue, another is green. So these are the three different fluorescent labels that you are seeing, and fourth is orange in color. So for four bases you have four fluorescent labels, right? So uh, as the fluorescently labeled nucleotide gets incorporated, the chain is going to get terminated, and it is going its emission, the fluorescence is the signal is captured and it is recorded. Once it is imaged, recorded by imaging. So once it is imaged, you are going to cut down that label by enzyme action, and you are going to allow the chain to extend, and again the process will be repeated, right? So this is how for a nucleotide that is getting incorporated in the growing chain, you have blue color fluorescence. For T it is orange, for C it is light blue, and for G it is purple red, right? That is how different signals you will get, and accordingly you are going to read the incorporation of single base, right? So the fluorescent signals are going to tell you which base has got incorporated. So during the sequencing process, a high resolution imaging system is there which is going to capture the fluorescent signals because they are going to be comparatively weak, right? So you have to have a high resolution imaging system which can capture those signals, fluorescent signals that are generated by incorporation of the single base, right? So the signals which are emitted by the nucleotide that has got incorporated in the growing chain. So one signal for one nucleotide, that is how you are going to have series of images, right? And that will tell you about the sequence in which it is going to get synthesized. And that is what you are going to study, analyze, and develop the sequence of your DNA that is under study. So the raw images, they need to be processed, and you have to identify the bases. You have to quantify the fluorescent signals by by removing the surrounding noise. So background noise can be there, which is due to unwanted fluorescence which is going to get generated uh, uh, due to the background. uh, the base of the flow cell is transparent glass, right? So you have to nullify the baseline and then note down the signal efficiency, right? Of course, this correction takes correcting the signal is done automatically by the instrument itself, but it is compared and then the signal is normalized and documented. So this is how you can draw the schematic representation for Illumina based DNA sequencing, the next generation sequencing method, right? Now, when I say the next generation sequencing method, what are the different models that are available? So these are the names of different models like Minisec, MiSeq, NextSeq, iSeq, HiSeq, HiSeq X, right, and NovaSeq. So NovaSeq is the NOVA SEQ is the latest and highest throughput instrument which is available. So up to 6,000 gigabase, right, that much of data, and 20 billion reads can be produced. And you see the time required, it is hardly 13 to 44 hours. So hardly 2 days are required to sequence such a big sequence of a DNA, a big polynucleotide, you can say, right, or a very big DNA or genome size, right? So uh, with reference to the size of the DNA that can be sequenced, the time required, you have, these are the different versions, you can say, of Illumina instrumentations. There are high throughput platforms, but the efficiency is different. So when I say Minisec, where you are going to have up to 15 GB data that can be processed, and it is going to take about 55 hours. Compare this Minisec against NovaSeq, 6,000 gigabytes, right, and just in 44 hours. So this is how the advancement is there in the platforms. So these are appearing on the market, and of course they are really good for large genome sequencing, you can say, or when you are to sequence the entire population, you have to have very high efficiency, very high speed and low cost. That time these methods are going to be really very interesting. So this is an overview of Illumina method for sequencing of DNA. Right. So in short, it is high throughput sequencing method. Second, it is sequencing by synthesis. Third, it uses fluorescent labels. Fourth, it uses flow cells. Flow cells are transparent platforms along with the lens. On the lens, you have anchors. To these anchors, the DNA fragments which are phosphorylated and adenylated and with adapters attached to them are going to anchor. Then attachment of the primers, then bending of the fragment, then extension by PCR, right? And then sequencing. That is how it goes on. So this is overview for the Illumina method, which is there for sequencing of DNA, right? Now we have to just go to another method, but before we go to another method, I have to just touch to the point ki what kind of PCR is used in some of the DNA sequencing methods. It is not normal PCR when you say real-time PCR, RT-PCR. These are the terminologies or advancements in PCR methodology you have learned. Now here one such advancement is emulsion PCR, right? The word itself telling you it's emulsion. So when I say emulsion, surely I'm going to deal with water and oil, right? So here also you are going to have water in oil emulsions, and the droplets are there, and the PCR is going to amplify the DNA molecule which is entangled or entrapped or encapsulated, you can say, inside such emulsion droplets. So each single molecule template is going to get amplified as per normal PCR, but the only thing is here you are going to have microbeads, and you are going to have the emulsions which are going to be separated into small droplets, and that each droplet is going to act as one unit. So multiple units, multiple droplets, all are going to get amplified simultaneously. All right. So if you see here in the schematic representation, generate emulsion, that is very first thing going to be. So oil phase you are going to have, and you are going to have aqueous phase, and by manual methods or automated methods you can generate the emulsions of it. So small droplets are going to get generated, very fine droplets, right, into which you can see the system which is required for synthesis of DNA, they are entrapped, right? The template DNA, and here are some labels. These are the materials, you can say, which are required for extension and so on. So each bead or each droplet, you can say, is going to act as a one ependrop tube, or one, you can say, uh, tube, or one reaction center, you can say, right? One unit, one reaction. So like that, so many droplets are going to get generated, and each is going to act as one reaction chamber, right? So here, after these are generated, you are going to go for emulsion PCR. Now emulsions are ready. Now you have to go for PCR, that is amplification, so that you can generate clonal beads. All right. So here, denaturation, annealing, extension, these are the common steps, right? But here it is, the DNA is not as a mixed one, but they are separated in small droplets. So efficiency is really good, and the possibility of formation of chimeric molecules also is reduced, right? Unwanted um, extension or wrong extension, or chimera is mixing of sequences. All these things are taken care of when you are having each DNA sample DNA separated, and is encapsulated or entrapped in a droplet. So each droplet has a reaction chamber, and amplification will take place in each of these droplets, within each droplet, and each droplet is separate from the other droplet. So hundreds of droplets are there, hundreds of different sample DNAs can be amplified to give millions of copies, and that of each fragment are going to get amplified in a small space, that is of a droplet. All right. Now you are going to break these droplets, right? So there are different methods for extracting beads from the emulsion, and then you have to go for quantifying the real-time PCR and flow cytometry analysis. I'm not going to go into these details, but at least the concept where it differs from normal PCR, what the word emulsion does mean, is clear to you now, right? So these emulsion PCRs, they are used for amplification of DNA molecules in water in oil emulsions. So each droplet acts as a microreactor or microchamber, and it has got lot many applications. Like successful emulsion PCR will give advantages over conventional PCR. So conventional PCR is like bulk PCR, right? So separating template molecules avoids amplification biases. So every template is in one bead, so there is no bias. So you are going to have a smooth running of the process, and amplification of each template is separate, right? So unwanted formations, chimeric products, they are not going to be there, which may get formed due to annealing of the templates together, and chimera is formed. That is not a possibility, because each template is separated in a emulsion chamber, or droplet, you can say. So when you're talking about whole genome sequencing, or when you're talking about variant profiling or RNA-seq, that time you can take help of this method, that is emulsion PCR. So it has got analytical applications, it has got preparative scale applications, and of course in all the fields, right from environmental to medical microbiology research. Right now, last two slides are remaining. Here we are going to talk about another technology, which is NGS again, next generation DNA sequencing method, but uh, it is the one which is considered as the very first of the NGS. Right. So what is the title? It is MPSS. What does it mean? M stands for massively, P for parallel, signature sequencing. So it was developed as early as in 1990s by Linux Therapeutics company, and MPSS again is considered as high throughput or ultra high throughput sequencing technology, which is used for sequencing cDNA. Now the term is cDNA. You know what is cDNA? So you, by use of reverse transcriptase, you prepare cDNA, right? From RNA, you are going to synthesize the DNA, and for this reverse kind of architecture, you need the enzyme reverse transcriptase. cDNA libraries, you have learned how to prepare those. So here you are going to sequence cDNAs for measurement of gene expression. That means the gene is present. You have that sequence, but you have to identify what is the degree of expression of that gene in a specific growth phase, say, or physiological condition, or under stress condition, or environmental parameter that you are wearing, so on and so forth, right? So you have to measure what? The degree of gene expression. So you are going to have the RNAs. From those RNA, you are going to synthesize cDNA, and that cDNA will be sequenced. For that, it is to be amplified. So PCR is going to be there, a part of it. But what more you are going to have is, you are going to have the input libraries, construction of library, the flow cell, then in situ PCR, then sequencing. That is how the steps are going to be very parallel to what we talked till now. All right. So what is the difference? That instead of genomic sequence, you are sequencing the cDNA sequence. So when you are talking about genomic DNA sequence, that time you are trying to find out the order in which ATGC bases are arranged in a given gene, within a gene. However, when I talk about cDNA, I'm talking about the DNA which is produced after after the RNA. Yes, after the RNA is translated to DNA with the help of reverse transcriptase. So your gene has got expressed, it has produced the RNA. That RNA you are going to convert to its complementary copy, that is cDNA, and then it will be sequenced. So as many as RNA copies are there, that will tell you about the degree or efficiency of gene expression. All right. So that is MPSS, massively parallel signature sequencing, which is sequencing of cDNA for measurement of gene expressions it is talked about. Now let's see the flow chart. Start from the diagram. Here you have sample preparation. So you have, these are the mRNAs. You are going to convert it into DNA with the help of reverse transcriptase, right? Now here you can see BAM, H1 vagara. So these are the restriction enzymes that are used, so which are going to be helpful in cutting the DNA or in extending that particular sequence, where you are going to add some tags and adapters, right? What is the tag here? It is biotin, right? Now here you are going to see the sequence. These are the end parts of it. Then the biotinylated sequence, now you can call it as, because you have added this biotin to this. Now this sequence is ready to get cloned into some a plasmid. So here PLCV2 is the example taken into which you have cloned this particular fragment. And now this is this sequence now is going to be uh, sequenced, for which you have to like um, tag the beats. Now this is another term coming in, but till now it is the overview to tell you ki how the cDNA is synthesized, how is incorporated into the DNA sequence like that of a plasmid, and it is along with the tag like biotin, and then you are going to expose it the single standard in the single standard form, the single standard tag form, right? That is how it looks, single strand tag. It is the tag is not double standard, so it is referred to as single standard tag. Now see the second part of the diagram where you have microbits, right? You have microbits with tags. Tags matlab abhi, for example, as in affinity chromatography, you have ligand and the target molecule. So avidin biotin system, for example, right? So here I am saying biotin, so biotinylated fragment I am having, right? So I'm going to say biotin as a tag. So this is added. Now here microbits are there with the tags, and then the bits are here. To that you have added the tag. Now the macro bits with the tag are ready. Then you are going to strip off those, and you are going to clone it into the uh, 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 plasmid, all right? And then you are going to load the bits, and you are going to go for sequencing these. So this is the way how the cDNA is uh, cloned, or sorry, I'm sorry, cDNA fragments are anchored onto the microbits, or are cloned and anchored onto the microbits. So what are the components required? The RNA, then it is converted to the cDNA, then to that you have added the tags. Those tags, tagged fragments, they are mixed with the beads, and then you are going with the further processing. Now here tagged PCR products which are produced from the cDNA, they are amplified, right? Tag products, they are amplified. So each corresponding mRNA molecule, each molecule will give up to 1 lakh PCR products of that molecule along with the unique tag. So one mRNA will be converted into 1 lakh cDNA copies of it along with the tag, right?